September 14 Sunday is not an ordinary date on the calendar, but a spiritual snare laid out with hidden chords, a day that whispers ease but conceals weight. And if we drift into it thoughtlessly, we step into a pit that was crafted long before we saw it coming. There is a strange deceit woven into time itself, as though certain days are dressed in garments of peace and simplicity, but beneath the garment lies an iron chain. You may look upon the day and say, "Here is just another Sunday, a day for leisure, for rest, for casual gathering, for conversation, for food and for sleep." But the danger of it lies not in the visible appearance. It lies in what is waiting behind the curtain. To take it lightly is to walk through a meadow where the grass hides pits dug into the ground, each one covered carefully with leaves and branches, so that the traveler who trusts his eyes and does not test the earth beneath his feet is swallowed in a moment without warning. There are days that pass by with no mark upon the soul, but there are days that make or unmake a man. The snare of September 14 Sunday is not that it will roar against you, not that it will rise with storms or frighten with thunders, but that it will look so harmless, so ordinary, so unthreatening, and in that very ordinariness it will lull you into dropping your guard. It is not the lion in the open plain that destroys most easily, but the fox in the vineyard, the serpent coiled in the garden, the wolf dressed in the skin of sheep. The weight of this day is not found in its loudness, but in its quiet invitation to drift. When a soul drifts, it is undone. For drifting is the most natural thing in the world. It requires no effort, no choice, no fight. You simply do nothing, and the current carries you. You look at September 14 Sunday and say, "Surely this is a day to let go, to lay down, to give no thought to watchfulness, to move with the stream as it pleases." But do you not see that this is the very thought that forms the trap? To drift downstream is easy, but it always ends in a fall. The river seems calm as it carries you, yet around the bend lies the drop, and the sound of its rushing waters is muffled until you are too close to turn back. The day will come to you wrapped in habits, wrapped in rituals, wrapped in the familiar. Perhaps you have walked through many Sundays before, and each one has seemed much the same. That sameness is the very cloak that hides the teeth of this one. For routine can become the chain that binds, and familiarity can blind the eyes. You may say, "I know this day, it holds nothing new," but the snare is always set in what you think you already understand. The most dangerous enemy is not the one who comes with new weapons, but the one who takes your old and dull expectations and turns them against you. Consider how easily a man says, "It is only a day." Yet the difference of a day can change the destiny of kingdoms, the fate of households, the course of a soul. A single day can be the day of Noah's flood, when men were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, and they thought the rain was just a passing cloud until the waters swallowed their breath. A single day can be the day of betrayal, when Judas walked into the garden with a kiss, and the soldiers carried lanterns to arrest the light of the world. A single day can be the day when men laughed at Lot as he warned of fire, until the flames consumed their laughter into silence. A single day is not too small a vessel to carry the weight of eternity. So when I say September 14 Sunday is a trap, I do not mean it is written in the stars, or that it carries some mystical number, but that it is an appointed snare, a test that will dress itself as common. Do not look for a roaring lion, but for the shadow that does not move when the light changes. Do not wait for the trumpet blast, but listen for the whisper that bends your heart. The subtlety of it is the danger. Men think they will be caught only by great sins, but most souls are undone by the quiet neglect, the gentle slipping, the lazy turning away, the failure to notice the thin crack in the wall before it spreads. The trap of this day will be its softness. You may find yourself saying, "Let me delay vigilance, let me postpone my decision, let me rest just a little longer. Let me eat, let me drink, let me laugh, let me put off the weightier matters until another time." But the deceit is that there will not be another time. For once you give away the moment, you are already bound. Chains do not fall on a man suddenly. They begin as threads. One thread feels nothing. Another adds little weight, but tie 1,000 together and you cannot move. September 14 Sunday is the weaving of such threads, each moment of neglect a fiber, each sigh of delay another cord, until you find yourself unable to rise. The soul that takes lightly what is weighty is already deceived. You may say, it is only one day, but the snare is not about the length of hours. It is about the eternal that hides within them. A single hour can change the direction of years. A single choice can alter the shape of a lifetime. Do not imagine that the snare waits until you are prepared to resist. No, it waits for the moment you least expect, when your hands are empty, your mind unarmed, your spirit drowsy. That is why it whispers ease. For ease is the cloak under which ruin walks. The enemy of the soul does not mind if you are strong in the great battles, if he can make you careless in the small ones. He does not mind if you stand firm in storms, if he can rock you to sleep in the stillness. For a man may stand against fire but fall to sleepiness, may stand against wolves but stumble on a loose stone, may stand against war but be undone by leisure. That is why September 14 Sunday is not to be taken lightly. Its very ordinariness is its weapon, its plainness its disguise, its harmless look its deadliest form. To treat it as ordinary is to walk into the snare blindfolded. The man who prepares for battle sharpens his sword, but the man who thinks there is no battle lets it rust. Which one will fall first when the hour comes? You say, but it is only Sunday. Yet I tell you it is not the name of the day that carries the snare, but the posture of your soul within it. It is the day chosen for your testing. Whether you will watch or whether you will sleep, whether you will guard your steps or stumble over the cords unseen. If you are careless, you will wake too late. For once the net is thrown, the bird does not fly free. Once the jaws close, the prey does not escape. That is why the warning is not to fear but to watch. Not to tremble but to be sober, not to despair but to be awake. The trap is set for the careless, not for the vigilant. The pit is for the wandering foot, not for the steady step. The snare is for the drifting soul, not for the one who anchors. And so, September 14 Sunday comes with the face of peace, but the heart of war, with the cloak of rest, but the hands of bondage, with the whisper of safety, but the teeth of ruin. You must not take it lightly, for to take it lightly is already to have walked into it. It is a day that demands eyes open, ears attentive, hearts steady, minds awake. It is a day that must be received as though eternity leans upon it, for eternity does lean upon it. To neglect it is to fall into the cords prepared, to dismiss it is to embrace the snare. To say it is nothing is to give it everything. The danger of that Sunday lies not in its noise, but in its silence, not in the storm, but in the soft and subtle breeze that lulls us into carelessness. For storms awaken men, they shake houses, they rattle windows, they cry out that one must take shelter or be swept away. Storms, in their fury, call for vigilance, and even the dullest soul knows to brace itself when thunder splits the heavens and lightning dances across the darkened skies. But silence, quietness, the gentle hum of ordinary hours, these are far more perilous, for they give no warning and demand no alarm. In them the soul drifts without anchor, thinking there is no danger, while danger grows beneath the still surface. The trap of September 14 Sunday is hidden in that silence. For when the day does not roar, we assume it is safe. When the winds do not rage, we believe there is no threat. Yet who among us does not know that the most deadly waters are those that run deep and smooth? It is not the crashing wave that most often takes the sailor, but the quiet current beneath, pulling steadily, invisibly, dragging him where he did not intend to go until the shore is lost from sight. The day that comes to you quietly may already be stealing from you what the loudest days could never take. There is something about a soft breeze that disarms the soul. It whispers comfort, it sings of ease, it promises safety. The heart, weary from battles and burdens, gladly receives it. But is it not in the garden, when all seemed most tranquil, that the first whisper of deception came? Did not the serpent choose the quiet of a garden, rather than the chaos of a battlefield to plant his deadly question? So too September 14 Sunday comes clothed in quietness, asking you to trust it, to let your guard down, to believe that nothing of consequence could happen on such a gentle day. But behind the gentle air, cords are being tightened, threads are being woven, and a net is being drawn around the soul. We think danger must be loud, dramatic, visible. We imagine it always wears the mask of sudden disaster. But more souls are lost in the quiet than in the storm. Men fall not when they are armed and ready, but when they are half asleep, when they tell themselves, just a little rest, just a little folding of the hands. It is in the stillness that drowsiness overtakes them, and in drowsiness they give away what no thief could have stolen by force. The day without noise is the day that tests the heart most severely. For when nothing presses upon you, when no enemy is visible, when all seems safe and undisturbed, what will you do? Will you keep watch? Will you remain steadfast? Or will you let your lamp flicker, your sword grow dull, your eyes close? The danger of September 14 Sunday is that it will tempt you to believe that vigilance is unnecessary, that watchfulness is extreme, that alertness is wasted. But it is precisely when the house is quiet that the thief chooses to come. The storm does not often catch the wise unprepared, but the silence lulls even the wise into folly. Think of the guards set upon the wall. In the night of storm they are awake, pacing, gripping their weapons, scanning the horizon. But in the quiet night, when the air is still and the stars shine without cloud, then comes the danger of sleep. The enemy knows when to strike, not in the noise of readiness, but in the stillness of neglect. The same is true of this day. It will not come with a trumpet. It will come with a whisper, and if you take that whisper for peace, you have already surrendered. What is it about silence that so deceives us? It seems innocent. It seems restful. It seems to heal. But silence is also the breeding ground of carelessness. In silence, the mind wanders, the spirit loosens, the heart grows dull. In silence, one forgets the weight of eternity, as though the stillness meant there is no urgency. Yet eternity is not silent, it presses upon every hour, whether the hour roars or whispers. The test is not whether the world around you shouts, but whether the soul within you remains awake when all outside is quiet. There is also a silence that masks agreement, the silence of consent. When men should speak and do not, when they should stand and choose instead to wait, when they should cry out and instead remain still, that silence is as deadly as any storm. September 14 Sunday will tempt you into that silence. The silence of postponement, of avoidance, of saying, not today, perhaps tomorrow, perhaps later. But later never comes. The decision delayed is the decision lost. The silence you keep today may become the chain that binds you tomorrow. A storm shakes you into decision. You must act. You must move. You must choose. But silence lets you drift, and drifting feels harmless until you see the waterfall too late. The most dangerous temptation is not the one that shouts at you, but the one that sings softly. You are fine. You are safe. You can relax. That voice never argues, never commands, it only soothes, and in soothing, it leads you to ruin. This is the quietness of September 14 Sunday. It is a day that will not strike you with alarms, but cradle you into slumber. It is a day that will not terrify you into watchfulness, but lull you into neglect. It is a day that will come and go in silence, and only afterward will some awaken to find that they were tested and failed, not because they fought and lost, but because they never fought at all. Do not be deceived by the calm. A calm sea hides the storm beneath. A quiet sky hides the lightning waiting to strike. A silent room may hide the shadow at the door. The calm is not safety, it is the cover of danger. That is why this day must not be taken lightly. It is not a day to be feared, but it is a day to be watched, a day to be weighed, a day to be guarded with vigilance. For silence is not emptiness, it is a cloak. The question is, what lies beneath the cloak? It is easy to stand when the wind pushes against you, because the force makes you aware. But it is far harder to stand when nothing pushes, when the air is still, when all is easy. That is the greater test. And September 14 Sunday is such a test. Its silence is not peace but trial. Its calm is not safety but snare. The one who passes through it awake has overcome. But the one who passes through it drowsy has already fallen. The call is not to fear the day, but to keep watch, to test the shadows, to remember that what looks harmless may be the very test that decides whether we wake or whether we sleep. For fear is never the answer. Fear clouds the mind, weakens the heart, bends the knees in trembling rather than steadiness. But watchfulness, sober attentiveness, the clear gaze that sees through disguises, that is the answer. September 14 Sunday will not be overcome by dread, but by readiness. Not by shrinking back, but by standing firm. Not by hiding from the day, but by meeting it with open eyes and guarded steps. There are shadows that walk alongside every hour. Not every shadow is an enemy, but every shadow must be tested. For light and darkness mingle in the world, and not everything clothed in gentleness comes from the source of good. The very danger of that day lies in its disguise, in the harmless mask it wears. You will look upon it and say, it is nothing, it is empty, it is ordinary. But in the very ordinariness lies the trial. It is the little foxes that spoil the vineyard, the small stones that trip the foot, the thin crack that breaks the dam. So too, what seems harmless may prove to be the knife hidden in velvet, the pit beneath flowers, the chain beneath ribbons. That is why the call is to test the shadows. Do not assume because a thing looks quiet it is safe. Do not assume because a thing feels gentle it is good. Do not assume because a thing bears the face of peace it carries no war. September 14 Sunday is precisely such a shadow. It walks as a lamb, but may bite as a wolf. It moves as a soft breeze, but may bind as a storm. It smiles as though it brings rest, but may steal rest altogether. And the soul that fails to test it will be caught unaware. Wakefulness is the dividing line. For what is tested in that day is not the strength of your arm, nor the wealth of your storehouses, nor the reputation of your name, but whether you are awake or whether you are asleep. Sleep is not merely the closing of eyes, but the dulling of spirit, the numbing of conscience, the ceasing to care. To sleep in the soul is to let the moments slip by without grasping their weight, to live as though tomorrow is promised, to treat eternity as though it can wait. But to be awake is to see that each day presses upon the soul with eternal significance, that even in what seems small the great choice is hidden. There is a line that runs through history, a dividing of men, not between the strong and the weak, not between the rich and the poor, but between those who wake and those who sleep. The sleepers laughed at Noah while the ark was built. The sleepers mocked Lot while the fire was kindled. The sleepers sat in gardens while soldiers prepared chains for their master. The sleepers turned away when the cry went up at midnight that the bridegroom had come. And the awake, few though they were the ones who walked into salvation. September 14 Sunday is not another date, it is one of those lines, one of those moments that will ask, are you among the sleepers or among the watchful? The harmless look of the day is the heart of the test. For anyone can stand when the trumpet sounds, anyone can fight when the battle begins, anyone can awaken when the storm strikes. But who can stay awake when there is no trumpet, no battle, no storm? Who can test the shadows when they seem to cast no threat? That is the measure of the soul. The test is hidden in plainness, the trial clothed in stillness. That is why many will fail, not because they could not endure a storm, but because they did not see a storm in silence. You must not imagine that the day will come with clear signs. It will not tell you when the moment of choice arrives. It will not sound a bell or flash a light. It will move quietly, softly, gently, and in that gentleness the decision is made. If you wake, you pass. If you sleep, you fall. It is not fear that prepares you, but vigilance. Fear scatters thought, but vigilance gathers it. Fear looks only at the darkness, but vigilance sees both the darkness and the light, and discerns which is which. The snare of that day will be its very simplicity. The ordinary moments will be the battlefield. Perhaps a word spoken or not spoken, a step taken or delayed, a choice postponed or embraced. Such small things, yet eternal weight rests upon them. What looks harmless will carry the sharpest edge. The test is hidden in the little things, for the little things shape the soul. A house does not collapse in one instant. It crumbles because each stone has been loosening for years. A tree does not fall from one blow. It withers from within until the final gust breaks it. So too a soul does not fall in one great moment. It drifts through countless small ones. And September 14 Sunday is such a moment, clothed in harmlessness yet holding eternal consequence. This is why the call is not to fear but to keep watch. Fear will not save you. It will only chain you in paralysis. But watchfulness, that deliberate, steady gaze, that posture of alertness, that choice to remain awake even when all seems calm, that is the safeguard. Watchfulness means you test the shadows, you do not trust them blindly. You weigh every whisper, you measure every breeze. You consider even the ordinary, as though it might carry eternity within it. You live as though each moment is holy, each hour is sacred, each choice is written in the book of forever. The greatest deception is to think that the harmless cannot harm. But it is the harmless appearance that often carries the deadliest sting. The snake in the garden did not roar, it whispered. The betrayal in the night did not come with a sword first, it came with a kiss. The destruction of kingdoms often began not with armies, but with a small compromise, a little sleep, a little folding of the hands. That is why the day that looks most harmless may be the very test that decides your soul. So remember, the line is not between the fearful and the fearless, but between the sleeping and the waking. You are not called to tremble, you are called to see. You are not called to despair, you are called to stand. You are not called to fear shadows, you are called to test them. And if you remain awake on that day, you will have passed the test that most do not even notice was given.